One of the things that I always appreciated about the hero's journey is it really confronts what I feel our modern culture is dealing with, and that's this wearing of a costume. It's like a clown suit on a lot of levels. And I remember that Emile Durkheim, who was a well-known sociologist, he talked about social dramaturgy and how a lot of our life's activities becomes like a theatrical performance where we're going on and off different stages, changing costumes to adhere to whatever we feel we have to be to get something. But what it is it really kind of takes away our quest of authenticity. And to me, the hero's journey, you go through all of these hardcore tests and you go through a tremendous amount of suffering, but eventually you turn that corner and you realize that you have to go through your reality as authentically as possible. You can't play games. You can't go into environments or social engagements and pretend you care when everything in your soul is telling you, no, this is not real. This is not me.
Yeah, and so what if we could adopt a perspective where we just looked at these roles as more as roles that we play for a particular purpose and growing in a particular way. And then as we kind of dance in and out of the different roles, we can see them from a place of detachment where they exist not as an end in themselves, but serving a greater end that, kind of going back to what Campbell talked about with his longer series that he did on the masks of God. Um, if we thought of ourselves as wearing these different masks, but there's something godlike or divine behind the mask, and that's really our true purpose for tapping into.
Without going into politics, I think that a large part of cultures that are pushing back against like woke culture, what they call woke or political correctness, it's more a reaction to inauthenticity. It's not so much that people are saying, like, I don't affirm or accept others who are different. It's more, I'm being forced to wear this completely untruthful mask. I'm being forced to speak in a certain way that's totally artificial. And so we're seeing right now in our society and in European cultures this push, this top-down push to censor speech. And essentially what it is it's asking us to don a certain mask and to play a certain role in a theatrical performance that many people feel is just completely false and disingenuous.
Yeah, so if I'm playing the clown or playing the fool, but I'm unconscious of that fact, um, that seems like something I'm not willing to risk. But at least if I'm playing the clown or I'm playing the fool, but I'm doing it consciously, then sometimes that might be an interesting role to play. I think the idea is that we want to bring more awareness to what role are we playing, what kind of greater purpose are we serving, what's the intent behind that.
And I think that there has to be a sincerity to it. That's one thing to volunteer so that you can take a lot of pictures and put it on social media or put it on your LinkedIn profile. It's very different than just doing acts of kindness without anybody watching or expecting any sort of a reward or a reaction. And I think that this lack of authenticity is sort of a pervading sickness in our culture right now. And it's ruining relationships, but it's also ruining our ability to communicate with something that's bigger and broader than us. And some people interpret the hero's journey as a conversation with God. For people who don't, want to follow that train of thought, you can think about it as there's something in the universe or there's something, an intelligence beyond us, and it's guiding us. And it's guiding us through tests, and it's guiding us by bringing certain people into our lives who deliver certain messages or who we engage in certain kinds of experiences with, like romantic relationships. But I think that what's at the heart of this is we have to kill off and die this part of ourself in order for this much more dynamic and truthful piece to really come forward, and so that we can conduct our lives more in that way, as opposed to staying in sleepy land and just wearing costume after costume.
Yeah, and that'll definitely bring us back to I think, a deeper philosophical question of just, who am I? Am I an ego going through an ego journey, or do I have some form of a spiritual or divine identity? And so in the Western philosophy tradition, one of the big quotes that you hear in the context of ancient Greece is that the temple of the oracle for Apollo in Delphi, Greece, had a quote or kind of a command etched on the entrance of the temple. And that was just a statement of know thyself. Um, and so I think that's a big part of what we're talking about too, is this command or need that we have, that we really need to spend some time getting to know ourselves. And that'll take us to this deeper place of clarity and self, where we can then move forward on the hero's journey.
And I think that something we'll get into in other videos is why it's so important for our lives to have a certain level of structure and routine. We have to engage in things that take us out of our comfort zones. I do MMA, you play hockey. We have to do things as men that hold us accountable so that we're constantly feeling a sense of growth. But at the same time, we can't do it in such a way that it burns us out. But I feel that the hero's journey, it demands that we have a lifestyle that is in check, it's in balance, and that it also has that time of contemplation and unplugging from technology and communicating with nature.
Nature tells us that nothing grows or adapts without external pressures and an environment that's constantly challenging it. So yeah, that suffering, that challenge, learning to kind of embrace that edge, be comfortable with discomfort. I think that's all part of why we're here, and what we're doing here. We gotta lean into the challenge instead of find ways to avoid it and cope with why we can't face it.